Well, shaking, folks. Back with another reaction, back with some more John Taylor, and we're going back to his 1995 album, Feelings Are Good and Other Lies. I did very much enjoy that. I Do What I Do. It had a strong synth pop track flavor, although a couple people commented that the singing, it's not like proper singing. He was sort of like doing like mood vocals, I'll call it, and I did notice that and sort of appreciate that comment, but ultimately it was a really cool tune sonically, and I wasn't expecting that kind of flavor, so big shout out to the people who were sort of saying, hey, you really should go back and do that before you go on to the next album and so on, and eventually, message was received, and I am glad that I did that. I did want to ask though, was that composed by him? Because it seemed like a couple people suggested he just kind of provided the vocals, and that the tune may have been composed, I guess, by the soundtrack or score composer for the film. But given that it felt like a pop track, like a synth pop tune, and given the fact that he was a member of Duran, and sort of that's the flavor that they're known for. In the early to mid '80s, I wondered whether he composed it or whether it was actually the arranger or the score composer for the film. So do let me know in that regard. Nevertheless, as I said, we're going to jump back forward in time to the 1995 album Feelings Are Good and Other Lies, and the next song, which I think is the penultimate tune, is Trust the Process. I'm not really going to make a Joel Embiid joke, but anyone who knows basketball and anyone who's familiar with the character of Joel Embiid will know it's like famously and sort of hilariously an answer he uses for any context. Anytime people will ask him, oh, things haven't been going great for your team, well, we have to trust the process. So what do you think about your development as a player? Well, I have to trust the process. And like literally anything anyone asks him, he will just issue the refrain, trust the process. So, it speaks to this idea of embracing a longer term transition or development, and not backing away from or becoming scared or convinced that it actually won't pan out correctly if there are setbacks or some issues along the way. Trusting the process as a whole and not letting any individual negative outcome or result shake that conviction. So it makes me wonder whether this could be on a personal level in a relationship. The idea that okay, we don't always get along, there's some issues, but I have to trust the process and think that love will prevail or so on. It does make me think it could be in relation to the trajectory of someone's life, not just in relation to other people, but are things working for you? Are you successful? Are you happy? Are you feeling fulfilled and rewarded? There are all sorts of ways I feel like one could kind of get it in one's head as a mantra, which is to say, maybe trusting the process isn't the right decision. Maybe it is actually a bad disposition, or one that will lead to more problems than benefits. But if you are convinced that it is the way to go, then trusting the process may actually be more trouble than it's worth. So I feel like it could go a number of different ways. We'll have to see what John does with it. Let's get it. This is John Taylor, Trust the Process, from his 1995 album Feelings Are Good and Other Lies. Ooh, almost like a electric Spanish guitar flavor.
Don't you worry, time's still heal. For you know it, you'll be through it. Just believing keeps you breathing. Keep on building, trust the process.
Bit of a psychedelic feel almost.
Keep the lies in my head home. Take no notice, they'll be dead soon. Just an instinct, just a feeling, just in living, trust the process. Jesus.
Has this kind of like that classic rock feel where it's like constantly turning over and rolling over. Felt like we were going to maybe have a sort of a softer outro or epilogue. It's a really cool tune, and it's one of my favorites on the album. And the instrumentation was like really, really cool, and I enjoyed the sequencing in the sense that, again, it felt like, you know, the bars themselves were kind of measures and that they kept like turning over, so it felt like one constant like tumbling procession of percussion and sort of style. So yeah, it was a really cool track. I was thinking, you know, lyrically, I've heard some different opinions. I know some people enjoy his lyrics more than others, but I was thinking I enjoy when he gets like super high and sort of tight and sort of soft, because it makes me think, you know, people have mentioned as I've been going through the solo material of the Aha group, which is not easy to say apparently. But yeah, when I've been reacting to one of their members, Magna, or Mags as they call him, I've only been through a few songs, but a couple of people have commented they enjoy the vulnerability of his voice. I feel like that same sentiment when I'm listening to John sing in those higher moments, and while he may not have the absolute like most pristine, classically trained voice when he goes up high like that, I appreciate the vulnerability. It's like I feel like the sort of sensitivity of his character like coming through his singing. So yeah, sort of to defend his singing in that particular regard, I think it finds a nice emotional place where like it almost feels like I'm hearing the human like behind the musician. So yeah, I did enjoy that one a great deal. In particular, the arrangement of the sort of the composition of the track I was quite fond of, and I like the sort of like the balance of that sort of light and heavy kind of progression back and forth. So yeah, really cool tune, one of my favorites on the album. I do believe the last one is the last track, so after that we'll be moving on to the next album, like forward in time. So in any case, let me know what you think of this one. I will see you next time. Peace.